To ask you, just take about 10 seconds or so, what is a Pan-Africanist?
Pan-Africanist is someone who believes that all African people, irrespective of culture, language, religion, class, or nationality, are members of one human family, and that they should primarily identify themselves as members of that human family before they identify themselves as members of any other group, religious, secular, or otherwise. So we believe that being African is more important and should take precedence over being Christian, Muslim, a Greek, a Mason, or anything else. And the second tenet of Pan-Africanism is that we have an international responsibility to work together in order to collectively improve the conditions under which African people live. Pan-Africanism posits that we can't really rise as separate groups. We have to rise as one because our conditions are so intimately linked in with one another that you can't possibly realize success on the regional or national level without working with the whole international African family.
Amazing. And so does that include white people too who are born and raised in Africa?
Okay. No. Pan-Africanism believes in self-reliance. And so when we talk about Pan-Africanism, we're talking about a self-reliant movement of African people solving their own problems, which is no different than what other groups within the human family do. European Jews primarily work with European Jews. Arabs work with Arabs. These Indians primarily work amongst themselves. So if we look at the way in which most cultures operate, they operate with a degree of exclusivity. And as African people, we reserve the right to also be exclusive.
So are you saying that color first, then religion, nationality, and then the rest?
Not color, because color is a superficial characteristic. Color is nothing more than a symbol of culture and history and biological connectivity. So we would say African family first. Not all Africans have an obvious African look. Most of us do. You can generally tell who is and is not a direct descendant of the original inhabitants of Nile Valley culture. But not all of us look obviously or phenotypically African. We have Africans who can look European and look like other races because we are the mothers and fathers of all other people. It's not uncommon to see some of us look like other people. But yes, most of us are phenotypically African, but not all of us. So it is the DNA that makes us African.
So it's African first and then the rest. But let me ask, in America, this doesn't include Black Americans who were born in this country. We're not a part of that stuff, right? Because we are Americans. But how?
No, sir.
But how is that?
No,
I mean, for example, I was born in America, down in Alabama, and I'm 100% American. So I wouldn't be a part of this African stuff, right?
No, that's totally incorrect. Pan-Africanism as a philosophy was actually born in the Western Hemisphere. Pan-Africanism came from the Americas. It came from the Caribbean and went to Africa. So believe it or not, ironically, it was created by quote-unquote American Africans. And so when we talk about Pan-Africanism, as I said earlier, in this definition, it includes all African people, wherever we may live. That's the entire purpose of the philosophy, is to make African people understand that regardless of where you may be, you're still African. There's European Jews all over the planet, but there's still European Jews.
But I'm not African, though. I don't feel like an African. I don't think like an African. I don't look like an African.
Well, that's because of
I am 100%. I am 100% American.
If you choose to identify politically as an American,
not politically, I am an American.
Okay, well, allow me to make my statement. If you choose to psychologically and politically identify as an American, then so be it. But genetically and biologically, you may be African.
No, I'm not.
Biological, well, it's okay to be in denial. Most Africans are. You have to understand, we suffer from a collective psychosis.
Is this
and it sounds like that you might be suffering from that yourself?
Is this like that stuff that Louis Farrakhan and Jeremiah Wright Jr., Obama's preaching, talk about this black liberation. Let me just ask, this black liberation stuff. That's what this is all about.
Well, let me clarify. I respect Minister Farrakhan and Reverend Wright, but I'm not followers of either. I think they've done some good things, but neither of them are Pan-African. And I think to get the most accurate representation of what they stand for, you would probably need to speak with one of Minister Farrakhan's ministers. He has several who are more than capable of answering those questions. I wouldn't want to speak for what he actually stands for. I'm a Pan-Africanist. He's not. So, although we both fight for the liberation of black people, we have two different ideologies.
So then, what would you say about this thing that's happening in America? You have black Africans coming here into this great nation, and they're doing very well. They're getting educated. They're starting their own businesses. They have strong families. And the blacks who live here, because they have been whimpering and whining and begging for so long, relying on the government and have their children out of wedlock and looking to the so-called black leadership to do and think for them, they are jealous of those black people who are coming here and becoming more independent. So they're not getting along at all. What would you say about that situation if they're all one?
Well, first, I would not agree with your assessment. First off, I do not think that African Americans are jealous of our brothers and sisters.
Well, why do they fight with them the way they do with the white folks?
Well, if you look at our history under white supremacy, you will find that there has been the engineering of internal differences amongst African people. You see those internal differences at play.
So the white man is to blame for that too?
Allow me to finish, if I could. I'll be brief. But you see those internal differences at play every day in Africa, where there are no African Americans present, and you also see those internal differences at play here in America, even when Africans from the continent are not here. We have been engineered to work against each other.
So the white man is making the black Americans fight against the black African. So blacks don't have any sense at all. Are you saying that? Let me take a break. I'll let you respond when I come back. Dr. Umar Johnson is with me. He is a psychologist and Pan-Africanist. He wrote the book Psychoacademic Holocaust and the Special Education in ADHD War Against Black Males. I want to talk to him about that as well and tell you how to get his book. So, Dr. Johnson, are you telling me that black people in America are so dumb that white people can even cause them to be jealous of black Africans who come here and do very well?
I think that what you're failing to recognize is when you control access to opportunity, you can sow the seeds of division and behavior that causes members within a particular group to work against their own best interests, to look out for their own selfish personal advancement. And that's exactly what happens amongst African people. For example, and I work with Africans from the continent. I'm a Pan-African. I'll be going to Ghana this summer, leading a group trip.
Let me make the statement, please. Because when you deal with these types of issues, they're not yes, no answers. You have to provide the context. And what I briefly want to say is that when Africans come to America, and I know this because I've been told this by many Africans here, they are told, okay, when they come through customs, when they come through immigration, that they would be better off if they didn't deal with Africans who are already here. They're told this when they go through their orientations, that it's best to stay away from us. So many of them are afraid of mixing with African Americans because they understand that the American government does not look favorably upon us. And if you're here